In the dim glow of string lights at my stepfather's retirement party, the clink of glasses echoed like a countdown to chaos. Everyone was toasting Robert Hayes, the man who'd supposedly sacrificed everything to raise me, calling me the perfect stepdaughter with smiles that hid years of buried resentment. But when he snatched the microphone, jabbing a finger right at me, and declared, "Emily owes me her whole damn life," I felt the weight of 2 decades of lies snap inside me. I forced a calm smile, reached into my bag for the thick folder of evidence I'd compiled over months of sleepless nights, and whispered back loud enough for the room. "Actually, Robert, the IRS says you owe a hell of a lot more." That moment, with 60 pairs of eyes widening in shock, was the spark that ignited the fire I'd been tending in silence, the fire of a daughter turning the tables on the manipulator who'd stolen her inheritance, her family, and her peace. My name is Emily Carter, and at 35, I've carved out a life that screams stability, senior accountant at a bustling firm in Chicago, a sleek apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, and a nest egg that finally lets me breathe easy. I choose solitude. My routine's as orderly as the spreadsheets I live by. But every ping from my mother's phone shatters that illusion, pulling me back into the quicksand of guilt and obligation. Robert's behind on the mortgage again, her latest text read. No warmth. Just the raw plea laced with unspoken blame. For 13 years since college, I've been their financial lifeline: car loans, home fixes, doctor visits, even their weekly groceries. Each wire transfer came with Robert's smug reminder, "It's the least you can do after all I gave up for you." The truth? He was barely around during those sacrificial years, hauling freight for a logistics outfit, pulling in solid pay but always playing the victim of poverty. He slithered into our lives when I was just 11, barely 9 months after my dad, David Carter, plummeted to his death on a construction site. While Mom drowned in grief, Robert seized control of the household, the checkbook, and the story we told ourselves. "Kids like you don't come cheap," he grumbled to anyone listening, usually over his 4th whiskey, painting himself as the broke hero footing bills for clothes, food, and school supplies. He conveniently omitted my full-ride scholarship through high school, or how I faked my age at 14 to bus tables at a greasy spoon diner downtown, scraping tips to buy my own thrift store jeans and scrounge lunches from whatever scraps were left in the fridge. Mom never pushed back. She'd zone out during money talks, nodding like a puppet, her eyes sometimes drifting to Dad's faded photo that Robert had banished to the garage shelf. I'd catch that fleeting spark in her, the fierce woman she'd been before, but then Robert would bark her name, and she'd shrink back into his shadow. The handouts started innocently enough, a 20 here, 50 there. "Just till my overtime kicks in," he'd promise. The overtime never materialized, but the asks ballooned, especially after I earned my CPA and landed my first real job. Suddenly, I wasn't just the stepkid, I was the loaded stepkid who owed him big. "Nice watch," he'd sneer at holiday dinners, eyeing my modest work attire. Some of us ditched our dreams to play dad to somebody else's brat. Somebody else's brat, that's what I remained after 24 years under his thumb. I tracked it all in a private ledger, a habit born from my profession. Over the past 5 years alone, $42,000 funneled their way. Not as loans, but as installments on a phantom debt he could never quite define. Roof over your head, meals on the table, keeping you from the system, he'd rattle off when cornered. I'd swallow the bile, recalling the drafty attic room with no insulation, the dinners I skipped so Mom could have seconds, the birthdays marked only by her hurried card because Robert didn't do that sappy stuff. I paid anyway, half for Mom's sake, half chasing the delusion that someday it'd square us up. Foolish me, guys like Robert don't clear ledgers, they accrue interest like vultures. The retirement bash was at Luigi's, a kitschy Italian joint with red checkered cloths and flickering candle stubs in Chianti bottles. Robert picked it, vetoing anything uppity, though he damn well knew I'd cover the tab. At 63, bowing out from the trucking firm, he'd rounded up every bar buddy and yes-man who'd ever chuckled at his off-color jokes. I showed up at 6:45 in a tailored blouse and slacks, the armor of a woman who'd learned to hide her scars. Mom enveloped me in a hug at the entrance, murmuring, "Thanks for being here," like skipping was an option. Robert barely glanced my way, too busy regaling his cronies at the bar with tall tales. The crowd was predictable, his burly brothers with their matching beer guts, ex-colleagues mastering forced grins, and neighbors sniffing out free pasta. Mom flitted about like a ghost, topping off waters and excusing herself for existing. Dinner dragged on with rubbery meatballs and limp spaghetti, punctuated by Robert's umpteenth recount of chewing out some boss back in the day, each version more epic. Him the blue-collar legend. Then the toasts kicked off. His brother slurred through a spiel on grit and brotherhood. A coworker mumbled platitudes about loyalty. Robert lumbered up, clanging his fork on a pint glass till the chatter died. "Thanks for showing up, folks," he boomed, voice already slurry with cheap red wine and fake warmth. 40 years busting my ass. And here I am, crossing the line. Polite claps rippled. Mom flashed her empty smile. "But I didn't do it solo," he pressed on, eyes roving till they pinned me. "Emily, get up here." My gut twisted like a wrung rag. I waved it off, but Mom nudged me forward, pleading under her breath, "Please, sweetie, humor him." I stood beside him, feeling like chattel on display as his arm clamped my shoulder like a vice. "This here's the kid I took on," he announced to the room. "Scrawny little thing at 11. After her old man bit it. Nobody else stepped up. But I did. Nobody else, like my paternal grandparents, hadn't pleaded for custody. Or my Aunt Karen hadn't battled in court till Robert poisoned Mom against them. Raising another guy's spawn ain't a picnic," he barreled on, grip digging in. "Cost me raises. Cost me shots at the good life. But I shelled out anyway, shelter, grub, the works." Murmurs of "attaboy" floated up. Someone muttered, "Real stand-up guy. And look at her now," Robert crowed, waving at me like his masterpiece. "Hotshot accountant. Ritzy pad. Bet she clears more in a week than I did in a month. Senior accountant." I murmured, but he steamrolled. "Bottom line, she owes me every scrap she's got. 'Cause I poured out my prime for her." The air thickened, even the boozy uncles sensing the venom. Robert hoisted his glass. "To debts you can't square. Ain't that right, Emily?" The room hung on my reply. Mom's gaze begged compliance. Robert's dared defiance. I eased the mic from his paw, voice level despite the inferno raging within. "Thanks, Robert," I said, locking eyes with his bleary ones. "You're spot on, some debts defy repayment." A beat. Then, and some were never real to begin with. His brow furrowed in dumb confusion. I passed back the mic, brushed a kiss on Mom's cheek, and strode out, the weight of stairs boring into my back like hot coals. In my car, I gripped the wheel for 10 minutes, tremors coursing through me. Then resolve hardened. If Robert craved a debt reckoning, I'd deliver one, auditing every pilfered dollar, every twisted truth. The storage locker reeked of mildew and buried secrets, untouched for years. Mom had slipped me the key after we'd boxed Dad's belongings, whispering she couldn't part with them. Now, knee-deep in cartons scrawled in her tidy script, I saw why Robert had helped so eagerly with the purge. I dove into the financials first. Dad had been a stickler, hoarding statements and stubs. As dawn filtered through the slats, I pieced together our pre-Robert existence. Then it surfaced, a Prudential life insurance policy, issued 4 months before the accident. Beneficiaries, Linda Carter and Emily Carter. Payout, $95,000. 95 grand. We could have thrived. But instead, we'd scraped by on canned soup and hand-me-downs. Mom pulled doubles at the nursing home. I patched my sneakers with duct tape till they disintegrated. Where'd it vanish? I snapped pics of it all. Then headed to Aunt Karen's suburban bungalow, Dad's sister. Cut off abruptly when I was 12. She opened the door in yoga pants splattered with garden dirt, her expression flipping from shock to relief to regret. Emily. Oh, honey. Come in. I've wanted to reach out forever. Why didn't you? I asked, sinking into her cozy kitchen chair. Karen poured tea with unsteady hands. Your mom made it crystal. We were persona non grata after Robert showed up. She eyed me warily. What brings you now? Dad's insurance payout, I said flatly. What happened to it? Karen slammed her cup down. Liquid sloshing. That snake mentioned it? What snake? She fetched a binder from her study, crammed with legalese, attorney letters, court filings, a custody bid from months post-accident. We fought for you, Karen said softly. Grandma, Grandpa, and me, we smelled something rotten when Linda claimed poverty despite the policy. Then she paraded into court with Robert, accusing us of chasing your survivor benefits. Survivor benefits? Social Security orphans payments, roughly $900 monthly till I hit 18. Karen's mouth tightened. Robert sold her on us being gold diggers. Promised he'd handle it all. No need for our meddling. $900 a month for 7 years. Plus the $95K insurance. The figures whirlpooled in my skull like a bad dream. We tried staying connected, Karen went on. But Robert blocked us cold, said you hated us. That we dredged up too much pain about David. The vanished cards and gifts clicked into place. He swore you ditched us, I breathed. Karen clasped my hand. We never ditched you, kiddo. Not for a second. We spent hours unraveling the web, Robert preying on Mom's vulnerability. Joint accounts he alone controlled. Docs she signed blind. The calculated cutoff from kin who might have spotted the con. That night, armed with power of attorney from Mom's knee surgery 2 years back, I dug into Robert's tax filings. The irony was delicious. He'd listed me as a dependent long after I'd flown the coop. Underreported earnings. Buried those survivor checks that should have funded my trust. The clincher? A bitter LinkedIn rant from Robert's ex. 3 years old, funny how my deadbeat ex scores a fat new SUV right after wedding that widow. Living high on borrowed grief. Huh. In my dimly lit home office. Amid stacks of damning proof. It hit. Robert hadn't just swiped cash, he'd hijacked my lineage. My dad's legacy. All while extorting thanks for the theft. I fired up a fresh spreadsheet, logging every shady deal, every bogus deduction, every embezzled cent. By sunrise, Robert's IRS tab dwarfed any debt he'd pinned on me. He wanted a balance sheet? I'd give him one etched in federal ink. The firm's lounge buzzed with espresso hisses as I laid it out for my mentor. Victor. A tax fraud whiz with IRS insiders on speed dial. Holy hell. Emily, he whistled, sifting the dossier. This spans decades. 24 years of scams, I confirmed. Stirring creamer with robotic calm. Evasion. Forgery. Insurance heist. He even maxed cards in Mom's name behind her back. Victor flagged a return. Claimed you till age 29 while you filed independently and pocketed your benefits. About $75,600 total. Plus the $95K policy. I let it land. He's been freeloading off my dead dad for a lifetime. What's the play? Victor asked, though his shrewd eyes guessed. Make him cough up every dime. Legally. With interest biting hard. He leaned in. IRS digs deep. Your mom's signatures are on some of this. She was groomed, I shot back. Docs prove her fog of grief. His isolation tactics. Any prosecutor worth their salt sees victim, not accomplice. You ready for the blowback? Holidays just got nuclear. I barked a laugh. Sharp and hollow. What holidays? Robert nuked our family ages ago. Over 2 weeks. Victor and I forged an ironclad packet. Looping an IRS CID. We fed them the fraud timeline. And Agent Laura Simmons. A no-nonsense vet. Eyeballed the fakes and bumped it priority. Meanwhile, I played dutiful daughter, dodging mom's pleas for Robert's car note with work swamped, vague texting Robert's demands. Tight on cash, he mocked late one night. Fancy gig not panning out? You could say, I replied. Smirking at the twist, I'd never been fleshier. I shielded mom quietly, consulted a divorce shark. Seeded a solo account for her with 3 months buffer. Amassed abuse proofs. The agony was biting my tongue. Feigning normalcy while fury simmered. At their mandatory Sunday roast, I faced Robert across the table as he yapped about post-retirement splurges. Eyeing a base boat, he bragged. Hacking at dry brisket. Deserve it after my grind. That's pricey, mom murmured. Robert's knife scraped porcelain. Pricey? Try what I forfeited. For me, I prompted coolly. Emily gets sacrificed now. Out in the trenches. I smiled thin. Oh, I'm learning volumes on debts. Robert, more than you'd believe. He took it as capitulation. Diving into another self-aggrandizing yarn. I nodded, tallying his potential Fed time in my head. 3 weeks post-party. Agent Simmons rang. Green light, evidence is airtight. Notice drops Monday. Hold till Friday? I bargained. Need mom safe when it hits. Friday max, she conceded. Given the scale. We're pushing felonies. Your stepdad's staring down serious bars. Music to my ears. Though I kept it pro. I schemed Robert's encore bash, one where he'd foot the ultimate bill. Cutting the cash flow unleashed Robert's venom. Coiling out like smoke. Texts turned nasty, your mom's bawling over empty cupboards. Sip that latte while we scrape by. I archived it all. Mom called soon after. Quavering. Sweetie. Robert mentioned money woes. You alright? Fine. Mom, just buried at the office. It's the utilities overdue. And his pension's delayed. Robert's mutter echoed, hit her with the rent hike. Mom. Lunch tomorrow? Solo. Tell him errands. I'll grab you at the Target on Halstead. Noon. She wavered but consented. Next day. She looked shrunken in the coat I'd gifted. Fabric swallowing her. You've thinned out, I noted. Parking at a quiet bistro. Robert prefers me slim, she parroted. Then flinched. I mean, healthier eating. Over barely nibbled salads. I probed, Mom. Are you content? Her fingers twisted her band. He's tense from retiring. Gave so much. Raising me? She bobbed yes. Precisely. What about Dad's policy? Her pallor drained. Robert managed it, said peanuts after burial. $95,000 peanuts? I slid the copy, her face shattered reading. 2 decades of deceit crumbling like ash. By debrief's end, the swiped benefits. Bogus filings. Secret debts, Mom wept into her sleeve. Patrons averting eyes. Did you suspect? I pressed softly. No, she burst. He hoarded the books. Said too complex for my fragile state. I trusted. I believed her. Mom couldn't bluff to save her life. I've been blind, she sobbed. Karen warned me. Your grandparents begged patience pre-wedding. But he was so gentle initially. That's their playbook, I said. Lure. Then trap. That night, Robert's messages escalated. Heard about your cozy chat, poisoning her against me? Low blow. You spoiled ingrate. Then, I see your game. I've juggled finances longer than you've breathed. At 3 a.m., You owe me your existence. Sans me. Foster hell. I'll air your dirty laundry. I forwarded the lot to Simmons and counsel, Robert excavating his own pit. Mom whispered next on, he knows I know. Raging about wrecking our vows. Pack essentials, docs. Meds. Outfits. Stash hidden. Emily. Leaving him. Not yet. Just prep. For me. She assented. Voice tiny. The hatred surged, not for the thefts alone, but for whittling Mom to this skittish shell. Tiptoeing her own halls. Days blurred in torment. Robert's office voicemails on blood ties, condo lobby showdowns, security quashed. Even Facebook sleuthing my ex with yarns of my crazy lies. Each stunt fattened his rap sheet. Simmons dubbed it witness tampering gold. He's gift wrapping our case, she noted. Obstruction on a platter. Thursday Eve. I pitched Mom, let's mend fences, I'll host dinner Saturday at Vincenzo's. My treat. Robert might balk. Say apology time, I've reflected on his gifts, want public props with his crew. She called back, he's in. But inviting siblings and pals to watch you grovel. Ideal, I said. Audience amplifies. I booked Vincenzo's private alcove. Acoustics primed for drama. Then dialed Simmons, about Saturday. She chuckled. Theatrical flair. MS. Carter. I'll plant Agent Ruiz adjacent, pure happenstance. Saturday dawned stormy. I donned a sleek navy sheath. Briefcase cradling the condensed fraud Bible. I nursed a club soda at the bar. Eyeing arrivals, Robert's bullish brothers. Uneasy ex-buddies in stiff colors. Mom. In Dad's old pearl earrings. Robert staggered in last. Buzzed. Booming. The wayward girl's back. He crushed my arms. Missed your big moment. Mom says you've got words. After eats, I deferred. Meal was hell, Robert spinning yarns of my troubled youth. Him the martyr. Me the load. Brothers guffawed, Mom poked at risotto. Ruiz tapped away nearby. Incognito. Over espresso and cannoli. Robert dinged his flute. All right. Emily, spill what Mom teased. I rose. Briefcase in tow. Silence fell. I've mulled since your bash on obligations. What we truly owe. Robert smirked. High time. I slapped down the envelope. Spot on. Time to tally your $95,000 insurance lift. The $75,600 benefits detour. Mom's $45,000 shadow debt. Smirk vaporized. The endless dependent claims. Income hides. ID swipes. I fan sheets. Proof parade, receipts. Forgeries. Fabrications. You backstabbing, not done, I cut. Foster threats? Discuss blocking Dad's kin who craved me. Gaslighting a widow that her in-laws schemed. Mom inhaled sharp. Robert purpled. Debts? IRS pegs you at $210,000 in arrears. Penalties stacked, not touching felonies for fraud. Theft. Abuse. Bullshit, he bellowed. Chair crashing. No proof. Plenty, I said. Nodding to Ruiz. Now tableside. Agent Ruiz. Your delivery for Mr. Hayes. Ruiz flashed badge and packet. IRS SID. Audit notice and summons. Lawyer up. Pandemonium. Brothers hollered setups, pals bolted. Mom muffled sobs amid the wreckage. Entrapment. Robert frothed. You rigged this. Ruiz stayed zen. No rig in your self-filed fakes. Sir. Court fodder. Linda. Robert spun. Back me, how I rescued you both. You swore $15K max insurance, she whispered. David left debts only. Shielding you, you were wrecked. I interjected, from knowing you raided my future. Bankrolled your toys on a ghost's dime. Robert snarled primal. I built this family, you'd be zilch sans me. Zilch? Try $210,000 richer. Interest aside. Brother Tom lunged, Ruining kin over cash? He's no kin, a leech on grief-struck prey. Kin don't pilfer. Isolate. Extort decency dues. Ruiz turned to Mom gently. We'll chat. Mrs. Hayes. But prelims clear you as duped. Separate counsel advised. Robert snapped. If I sink, you drown, your SIGs everywhere. Fakes, I clarified. Graphology confirms mismatch. Quiet crushed in. Brothers slinking out. Ruiz stacked papers. 30 days to contest. Mr. Hayes. DOJ handles crim. Robert scanned for backup. Finding voids. His glare scorched me. You orchestrated this party. Meal. All. For months, I admitted. Since your toast on endless debts. You nailed one. Some can't repay, like filched childhoods. Erased dads. Shattered clans. Mom stirred. The haul he hid? I knelt. Dad secured $95K. Benefits too. He took it. Funding his whims while we scraped. She yanked her ring. Strode to Robert. Plunked it in his scotch. You thieved my girls tomorrow and forced her gratitude. Out. Ruiz blocked his grab. No contact. Sir, tampering risk. They hauled him ranting. Siblings trailed shamefaced. Room cleared to us amid ruins. Next. Mom quavered. Assets iced, charges pile. Bars loom for fraud at all. And you bunk with me, divorce gears turn. Abuse-proof secure house. Fair split. She snorted. Fair? Post? 24 years. Justice, I said. Overdue. The Chicago federal courthouse loomed like judgment incarnate. 8 weeks post-dinner. Robert trudged in. Rumpled suit dwarfing his public defender fresh from bar exams. No brothers in sight. IRS struck swift, accounts locked. Pension paused. Indictments cascading, evasion. Theft. Abuse. Fraud. Each promised years caged. Mom divorced days later via my shark, frozen funds and proofs greased wheels. She claimed home. Legit scraps. And reclaiming self. $72,000 restitution to David Carter's estate, the judge intoned. $210,000 total IRS due. Robert Ashen. The debtor finally invoiced. I testified crisp. Trail unassailable. Defense spun bitter kid, but proofs roared. Jury out 90 minutes. Guilty across board. 9 years fed pen. Supervised tail, out at 72. Broke. Branded. As cuffs clicked. He eyed me, not fury. But empty defeat. Mom crashed with me. Pouring albums. Resurrecting buried bonds. She mended with Karen. Tears bridging gaps. Dad's kin embraced like prodigal return. One night, Mom handed Dad's journal. Final scroll pre-fall. Boosted Emily's college pot. Upped policy for Linda and our girl if worst hits. Protect family eternal. I traced. Tears blurring. Robert hadn't just looted cash, he'd desecrated Dad's love shield. He'd beam, Mom murmured. You stood tall. For ours, I amended. We gathered at Dad's plot, true kin circle. Updated him. Parasite purged. Daughter resilient. Scales tipped. Days on. I nuked contacts. Axed profiles. Reclaimed Carter surname. Emily Carter. Period. Last whisper, Robert slinging prison chow at 40 cents hourly toward debts, needing millennia to settle. Poetic for a debtmonger. Mom's final missive via counsel lightened her. Breath freed after Ian's. Me? Slumber sound. No guilting dings. No veiled chains. Robert taught dead all right, not his version. He showed takers get billed eventual. And when due, no mercy.